Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. We're here today with Jerry Bailey from Apex Logistics to chat with us about EHS in the transportation industry. Let's see. We have some people on the call, but I'm just going to give it a few seconds, let people hop on, and then we will start. Watching the numbers go. Okay, I think we're set. All right, I'll start again. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our Coffee and Compliance today. We are here with Jerry Bailey to chat with us about EHS in the transportation industry. Just a reminder for those of you who are new to Coffee and Compliance, we chat with thought leaders and regulators about emerging issues, career development, case studies, and much, much more. Okay, and then we do like to introduce ourselves each week. So good morning, my name is Jillian. I'm the Compliance Solutions Manager.
And my name's Celine, I'm the Customer Success Manager, and both of us work on the Customer Experience team here at Mapistry.
And quickly, for those of you who are new to Mapistry, we'd like to provide introduction. We are an environmental compliance platform on the software side for industrial facilities. Mapistry focuses on providing transparency, promoting collaboration, ensuring efficiency, and creating accountability.
Yes. We are a data-driven platform that helps companies monitor, analyze, and track all their environmental compliance needs in one system.
Great, and with that, we are really excited to welcome Jerry. Hi, Jerry, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having
me. Yeah, thank you for joining.
A brief little background about Jerry. Jerry is an EHS compliance manager at Apex Logistics.
Yes, and Apex Logistics is currently a Mapistry customer, and our customer experience team has had the pleasure of implementing Mapistry and helping Jerry and all his facilities roll out Mapistry. Perfect. Awesome. Well, with that, it's great to have you, Jerry, and let's jump into some questions.
Sure.
So let's just start with your background. So tell us a little bit about yourself as far as your career path and your current role today at Apex.
Absolutely. Well, my background, safety has, it has always followed me since my military days back in the 1980s. I dabbled in base safety, for a while and dealing with both military and civilian personnel, and so then, in the early 90s, I transitioned from the correctional officer field where I was a correctional officer working inside of a prison. And even inside the prison industry, the federal standards and the state standards, it always followed me. Safety always followed me for some reason. I couldn't put my finger on it, and so until someone, took me under their wings and started teaching me and how to decipher the regulations, and so I could, make it more understandable to my employer. And then fast forward to the 2000s, I was hired as a director of safety within the battery industry, dealing with sulfuric acids and all kinds of regulations, corrosives and chemical compounds and things of this nature, where I did air testing, I did stormwater, wastewater, even blood testing of the employees for lead poisoning, did all this stuff, for at least 19 years, and then I was on a consortium group for 10 years of that 19, where I would travel to Washington, on many occasions to meet with regulators, for coming to some sort of an agreement with dealing with lead, and employees working with or around lead, and so, of course, the California regulators and politicians, I've had to meet with them, trying to get them to understand the importance of how, we were keeping employees safe from getting sick, while working with lead and lead compounds. And of course, I did that for 19 years, like I said, and until my current employer, Apex Logistics, kind of saved my life. They found me and they rescued me from all of that other nonsense, and so, the trucking industry it's not like the battery industry, although the regulations are pretty close. I still deal with most of the regulations and the regulators just on another level of thinking. Um, the most different aspect I would think of this job is the support that I receive from management. Whereas my former employment, I had to go it all alone. But this is a different ball game here.
Yeah, I could imagine going from especially trucking, or sorry, the opposite, battery to trucking. So yeah, you mentioned some of the common commonalities between the two, or the differences between the two. Could you talk about some of the common things? I know you didn't experience as much support from management. Did that any of those things go over into what you do now, like things that you've learned that you had to learn on your own from your previous work?
Absolutely. Doing, having to build a platform from the ground up, is one thing, but coming into another industry where it's already set, that I can just jump in and just go at it, it's like night and day. I drove home many nights with headaches, trying to think of what I can do to and what I had to do. I mean, my second day on the job, with my former employer, OSHA shows up, and I was just overwhelmed. I mean, I let them know, hey, this is my second day on the job. I
Mhm.
don't know nothing. I don't know where nothing is.
Mhm.
I just let them know up front. If you be honest with them, they hopefully they're gonna be a little lenient. Of course, they wasn't, but because that's OSHA. But and so yeah, this here I have a lot of support. My former employer, I went to him, um, the vice president, matter of fact, to try and get some information, some guidance. And they said, don't come to us. Don't come to me. I can't help you. I don't know your job. You're on your own. So from that point, I knew I was in for a long, long days, but, through it all, I got through it. I established my own programs,
Wow.
um, and learned on the fly.
Mhm.
So where were you guys way back then when I needed you?
The idea was there. We just hadn't we hadn't formulated it just yet.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well,
Go on,
sorry, we're glad that you've transitioned over and that we are able to work with you today at Apex Logistics, you being at Apex. And with that transition, you're now an environmental health and safety compliance manager. So we'd like to know how you ensure key stakeholders and non-environmental personnel are engaged to meet these environmental compliance requirements, whether, is at your previous work and in comparison to today, how you do so today.
Absolutely. Well, it's the one key is to be honest, always upfront. Let the shareholders, let management know what's going on with their own business, their own company,
Yeah.
where shortcomings, where you're failing at, and then also give them a solution, how you're going to fix it, because the one thing you want to put to ease is the management's mind that their business is being taken care of correctly.
Hmm.
You don't want to have any surprises where regulators will show up, and you don't have the backup, you don't have the documentation to show them, and that can go deep into management's pockets. It affects everyone. So yeah, it's my job to put them at ease and to let them know, what's going on the side of the house and how I'm, going about my job to make sure their employees are being safe. Because the last thing I want to do is have an employee, leave the job with more holes than they came in with, or less
Hmm.
limbs or what have you, So if they go home the same way they came to work, my job is done and I'm happy with that, and I'm sure management is happy as well.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned that you have to show them where you're failing and then how, like, provide a plan. And this is kind of leading into the other question, but I was just wondering, how does Mapistry kind of help with that? Because there are ways on Mapistry to like analyze and track all of your data to see kind of where your gaps are. And I'm curious to see how you use that and show that to your management.
Sure, absolutely. You know, Mapistry, you know, it's like I said, where were you guys 20 years ago? You know, but Mapistry is just so wonderful. It's a very good platform to use. Our dashboard, you know, it makes things so simple. It really does. Makes life so easy for my supervisors to keep track, you know, of their compliance, you know, in regulations with stormwater, with our code. You have your COVID-19 builder plan, you know, and I haven't even dug into what all Mapistry can do for us, which I'm excited to do. But there's just so much that makes life so much easier for us. And I can see that, you know, even with my supervisors, they tell me that it's just a lifesaver, you know. They have things that pop up to remind them because you're wearing so many hats, you know, you just can't keep straight everything. But the reminders pop up, and then that's just a joy to have in itself, you know, so you can get that task done and move on to the next. So Mapistry, you're number one in my book.
That's really great to know. We're so glad, so glad. Can you tell us, a little bit more about, what do you use for Mapistry? What suites do you have? Yeah, stormwater, hazmat, kind of how do you use Mapistry day to day?
I'm on it every day, you know. So I want to see what my locations are doing, you know, who's failing, who's falling behind, you
Mhm.
know. I get on them for that, you know, and you guys do a great job of that, letting us know. But yeah, even with the COVID and everything we've been going through, you know, I can plan or I can build a COVID plan, you know, off the templates that you guys have, and it's so simple, you know, and I can either, you know, edit it, you know, change it, do whatever I have to do to fit the location. And
Yeah.
so with that, you know, our stormwater testing, our stormwater compliance, you know, again, one click, you know, and you're there, you know, and you can just fill in the forms, and I believe you guys now have it where you can do it on the go with the apps, and
Mhm.
um, so I mean, my goodness, you know, it makes you want to work even harder and longer, you know, because it's so easy to do. I don't know what other platforms uh, are there because I haven't really gotten to all of it. But what I have gotten into, wow, it really is nice. You know, I can take pictures and put them on there, and you know, with my inspections and
Mhm.
things of this nature, write notes and just and you know, um, give tasks to people. You know, versus
Okay,
a
yeah, you utilize
email. You know, it's
tasks,
great,
yeah,
just great.
great.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
how,
Oops, sorry. Go.
I just have so many questions. I mean, so how many people are on your team more or less that you have as users, on Mapistry? Are you like creating tasks for a handful of people? Is it mostly just you?
I create tasks for I have six locations actually, which I have six supervisors, and then they have their lead men or assistants. So I do issue out tasks to them, and they, you know, they have no problem with it. You know, they get back to me or get back and fill them out in a reasonable portion of time. Of course, sometimes I have to stay on them, you know, but that's normal. So it's just user friendly, you know. Um, I mean, even if I have problems with Mapistry, I can call up one of you ladies or the gentleman, you know, and somebody gets back with me quick, fast, and in a hurry to solve my problems, my issues, and you know that's a relief, you know, because you don't get that everywhere. You know, that support is very important, and when you don't have it, you know, it can cause problems down the line, you know. So, kudos for you guys for reaching out to your customers in a timely manner to solve their issues. And that goes a long way.
Thank you. Yeah, we've hopped on the phone a couple times, Jerry, and went through some issues. So it's always a pleasure. And I think being able to help our customers is something we really value. And then, like you're saying, with your tasks and things, it's really cool because on Mapistry you can see how many days the tasks are overdue, how many days on average it takes to complete tasks, and then now with the update you can see who's assigned tasks, how many assigned tasks do they have, so you can kind of even out the workload a little bit and track those and like really dial in on those areas of need and support.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's very important and very helpful, so there's no excuse for not, completing your task at all.
Yes. Yeah, it's very true. They're always watching, or there's somebody who can always see everything, which I think is super valuable and makes the software really helpful. And then one thing that I like about the software too, this is kind of going off into a tangent a little bit, but is the ability to clearly show other users what you need to do. So like you said, coming to a new job, if you have Mapistry, it's easier to see, okay, this is everything that's required. These are all the due dates. It's a little cleaner and less of a figure it out for yourself. Has that been your experience as well?
Absolutely. And not only that, but it takes less paperwork.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of binders and books and stacks and, laying around, it's all right there. You can just simply click on it and you can show a regulator if they need to see it, what you've been doing and things of this nature. So yeah, it's so, I mean, I can't say it enough. It is so simple, so easy to use. If people are not using it, you know, they're behind on the times, put it like that. Because I really believe Mapistry is, on the forefront and, out in front and letting people know this is what you can do to make life easier for you, for your industry, for your business, and individuals, So yeah, and I look at the task, I make sure they're completed. I can go in, matter of fact, and see what was done, and what, like you say, the time frame that it took to be done. Uh, you can set all kind of schedules and times and dates. So it's just goes on and on. I'm really excited about the system.
We're so glad. So good to know. Thank you for telling us all about your Mapistry use. We really appreciate it, and it's wonderful to have you here today to talk about it too. Yeah, and so just another follow-up question. I'm curious, like, as far as when you started to use Mapistry with Apex Logistics, kind of your history into getting into Mapistry. Were you previously dealing with any difficult compliance obligations that maybe, at the time is why you were interested in Mapistry, but otherwise, just in general, being in this field that you're in, the EHS transportation field, if you could chat about some difficult compliance obligations that you meet and maybe how Mapistry helps you with that. You kind of touched on that a bit, but.
Well, at first the industry, came to a halt like everything else, last year, but of course, everything started to work itself out. You had essential workers that, you can't just stop America from from working, and so, but with Mapistry, yeah, it just really pinpointed, where things are failing or lacking, you know,
Mhm.
even with permits, we can put permits in there uh, for a certain amount of time, and then when it's starting to expire within 90 days or so, it'll pop up and say this will be due, in the next 90, 60 days.
Mhm.
All those reminders, Mapistry, it just makes it again a lot easy, on the mind, on the body, and Mapistry has done a lot to save me, tons of work, you know,
Mhm.
boatloads of time wasted. It
Yeah.
just, I can spend on other jobs or other projects knowing that, the Mapistry dashboard, has my back, and I don't have to worry about other things.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And I like that you've been able to use, especially during COVID with everything that's happening. And I know for a lot of facilities that was a really hard transition, especially when a lot of their workers went remote. So can you talk a little bit about that transition? You mentioned earlier before we went live, but that you're working from home right now. And I would love to hear how Mapistry's kind of helped with that and how the transportation industry in general has handled the transition due to COVID.
Yeah, well, with the COVID and all, and working from home, and you know, it really lets me look at Mapistry even more so. I believe my supervisors, they have been trained enough that they can rely on Mapistry to fulfill their obligations and their compliance issues. And because of our individual locations, even outside of California, we have
Mhm.
one in Nevada, which is a totally different set of regulations,
Mhm.
federal, but
Mhm.
it gives them the knowledge and the resources, that they need to complete their tasks with very minimal supervision. you know,
Mhm.
uh, when they do have a question, they can come to me, or if I don't have the answer, I know who has the answer, and so it just makes life so much easier, and uh, always staying in compliant, which is our key.
Mhm.
Staying in compliant, reducing the number of injuries, and the health and safety of our employees, which is number one.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And I think you mentioned, did you use the COVID builder going into the pandemic? Is that something that you had for your sites?
Absolutely, I use it for all my sites. Yes,
Oh,
can't
good.
go wrong with it.
Oh, that's great. Good to hear. Yeah. And even is the Nevada site too on Mapstream as well?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Your Nevada site as well, utilizing Mapstream?
That's correct.
Great. Yeah,
Correct.
so glad. Definitely have them on all the sites. And it sounds like the COVID builder too had definitely helped you out.
It
Um,
sure has.
And while we're on the call, if anyone's interested in our COVID builder, we do have a blog on our website about it. If you want to take a look, there's some videos, and we had Coffee and Compliance talking about it as well. So if you're curious, our COVID builder is still available. No, but that's really great to hear. So with that, do you have any, big lessons that you've learned from this one past year, going in, to the pandemic, beginning to transition now as far as compliance? Is your whole team remote at this point, or that's another question?
Most of my team is still working at their locations, their terminals.
Okay,
Uh, I'm pretty much the only one who's remote.
gotcha.
Um, so I
Okay.
travel to all of them to make sure everything is working and going according to plan,
Okay. Mhm.
looking out for their needs, their concerns, and
Mhm.
that's really important, to address the concerns.
Mhm.
Don't just listen to them and then don't do nothing about it. It's real important to respect your employees.
Mhm.
That will reciprocate the same thing back to you. If you show a real genuine concern for their safety and well-being, they'll know that. They'll pick up on it. You know, they'll bend over backwards to make sure that things are taken care of on the compliance side. So that's real important.
Yeah, I think that's good advice for any employer, for all industries. So that's awesome. Well, we're
Yeah.
kind of getting towards the end of time, but I wanted to give you some time to give your final thoughts and any other advice you have for EHS professionals, especially ones in the transportation industry.
Sure, stay on top of regulations. They're always changing. It
Yeah.
seems like they're changing every other week, but stay in the regs, and we have so many tools now that it's not an excuse not to know the latest regulations.
Yeah.
And of course, they expect us to know the regulations
Mhm.
because each regulator, when they come, they want you to know, but you can also reach out to them. They have
Yeah.
no problem with that. I've always done that. I get that rapport with them, and that keeps me on top of things, so I know
Yeah.
when they come, we have that communication, so when they come, I know that I'm set, I'm ready for them, and they
Mhm.
know they're not going to be there all day looking at paperwork or looking at
Yeah.
whatever, because they know we've been, communicating back and forth. And so
Right.
it's real important to stay in touch with the regulators, to
Mhm.
make sure you're on top of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that we've heard, from our previous coffee and compliance. Our guest speakers have come on and they've mentioned as well, and it seems like a theme to be in touch and be in contact, if anything, with your regulators, your local regulators. And maybe, at first a little frightening and you're nervous about it, but it seems like, especially from your experience too, if you're actually more in touch, have more communication, it helps you in the long run.
Absolutely, absolutely. It just makes life a lot easier when you do that.
Yeah. Being a little bit more proactive than reactive when a regulator comes around.
Don't
Yeah.
go at it alone. You have help everywhere.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're very proactive. You're utilizing Mapistry. You got all your sites taken care of, is what it sounds like, and you're doing a really wonderful job as an EHS manager. And so, definitely commend you for that. And I'm so glad that we've been here today to get to hear your experience and everything that you use with Mapistry, as well as how you take care of your team and how you go about regulations and compliance obligations. So, thank you so much, Jerry. Today, it's been really great.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. We have enjoyed having you as a customer, so it's a joy to have you on the call today.
Yeah, and so yes, again, thank you so much, Sherry, for coming. And for next week, he's our slide for next week. So everyone on the call, thank you for coming, and please join us next week for our upcoming speaker, Andrea Summits. She's on the Environmental General Counsel. She'll be discussing the Biden administration's likely impacts on EHS.
Jerry, we'll hope you will join that call as well, as you usually do. But everybody else, we encourage you guys to join as well. And if you have any comments or questions or even suggestions, please email us at info@mapistry.com. And with that, happy Tuesday, everybody. Thanks again, Jerry, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.